Hi, my name is Princess Chinemeremilu, and in this presentation, I will explain the approaches that I take to planning and preparation of learning program in computing. I am going to address the key curriculum issues that needs to be considered when it comes to computing education. So when I plan or prepare a learning program in my specialist area of education and training in computing, I ensure that I address key curriculum issues by considering different principles of curriculum design, planning, organization, and here's how I incorporate these elements. I use um, English and mass contextualization, the role of emerging technologies, threshold concept, and troublesome knowledge. I also explore the principles of design in planning and organizing the curriculum. So when it comes to English and mass contextualization, it is really key that it is being integrated into activities that are done in the class. Why? This helps to build essential skills for personal and professional success. So we're not just training our students in just IT as a whole, but we need them to know how to use math skills, English skills for uh, when they work in the industry. Now, not only do we do this because it's essential skills and helps for personal professional success, it also aligns with the national educational standards. Now, there are different strategies we use. Strategies like integrating maths into tasks. So, for instance, you're building a website, and when building a website, there's something we call a sitemap. Now, sitemap has to do with creating tables and knowing where things will be on your screen page. So we use something called the golden rule to know where things will be put in the web page. Things as little as if your width of your web page is, let me say, 1200, you perform maths like dividing 1200 by 2 just to see the placement and the dimensions of where things will be in your screen. So that's one way that we implement maths or integrate maths into IT tasks. Another way is data storage. So you calculate the amount of data that has been stored for a particular work you've done. When it comes to embedding English, we can do this through technical writing, reading tasks, presentation tasks too. So we try to embed this into our teaching in one way or the other. Things like word search. So at the start of the class, you can start key terms that the students are going to search for, and that helps them to know the meaning of those words, which is also part of English and embedding English. Another thing that we do is kind of like scaffolding literacy and numeracy skills. Like I said, using key vocabulary, and the learners use it to like do sentence starters, and those with weaker literacy skills are given like step-by-step guides of how to do whether math related tasks or English related tasks. So, the role of emerging technologies in teaching, my subject area is IT. So, basically, most times we actually use emerging technologies. We create websites, we use collaborative environments to work. Um, what is the significance of using emerging technologies? It actually prepares learners for the industry. We want our learners to leave the college and be able to um, work in the industry with little or no assistance. And one thing it also does is that it helps or enhances engagement and accessibility. We have students that they will prefer to explain what they want without somebody knowing that they are the one that explains. So it kind of helps for diversifying and making the lesson accessible for everybody. So we use things like Teams to collect feedback from learners in real time. We use Lesson Up, and that kind of helps learners to express themselves without feeling like somebody is going to judge them. Some examples of emerging technologies that we use or I use is Google Classroom, Lesson Up, OneDrive, Teams. Um, these platforms help for interactive teaching. You get feedback at real time. You ask questions. Students that have like anxiety issues answers uh, based on answers on the emerging technologies, and it kind of makes them included in the class. We also have things like assistive tools like screen readers. We have technologies that enable students to, for those people that cannot type, it helps students to just read through the screen and also talk to the device, and it takes in the text and converts it to text. So those things are things that help. Also, with emerging technologies, we have discussions around its impact on the society, how it helps and promotes analytical skills. So, we're going to talk about threshold concepts and troublesome knowledge. So, there are some concepts when it comes to IT that is really difficult, or let me say they are abstract in nature for us to really teach, and it can be challenging to teach that. However, I use things like visual aids, analogies, and hands-on examples to make these concepts like easily accessible and understandable. Another thing that I use is scaffold learning. I try to break down some troublesome topics into smaller and manageable chunks and provide activities that gradually builds understanding. So we use things like role playing, a kind of cyber attack scenario, just to explain vulnerabilities. So in one of my classes, I teach cybersecurity and incident management. Some things I also use, or some strategies I use, is think, pair, and share. I also use see, think, and share. So those are strategies that I use to kind of build understanding for learners. So something as little as playing a video, a cartoon video of like 3 minutes showing a particular concept that can seem abstract helps to further build understanding for learners. And that is one strategy I use. So it is very necessary to have an idea of ongoing assessment and feedback to address misunderstandings. So every person thinks in different ways. Also, learners thinks in different ways. So we have to ask questions, try to do assessments to make sure that they are moving in the right direction. Regular formative assessments and immediate feedback help address misunderstanding before they become barriers to learning. You also use on Teams, there's something called so there's a survey where you get feedback of how learners feel about a particular lesson or a class. I use this almost every other day to make sure that I get feedback from learners, especially when I feel that the topic that has been taught is an abstract concept. Now, getting those feedback tells me if the learners have learned properly, if they understand the concepts. I also use things like quiz. fun quizzes on lesson up, or a game to make sure that the students understand the concepts. So it is very necessary to try and get feedback from every class, especially when you feel that the students did not really understand the concept. So we have principles of design, we have learner centered and inclusive. We have inclusive approach, we have balanced theoretical and practical content, and we have clear alignment with the national standard, for instance, BTEC or gateway qualification. Um, what I do, let's say the learner centric and inclusive approach I have mentioned previously, I try to embed emerging technology to enable me get feedback from learners that are quite anxious to express themselves in public. My lesson plans are actually designed around my learners' needs, including those with EHCPs. And I try to provide differentiated resources and support. We have learning LSAs that are with me in the classroom. I have a particular class that there are like three levels of students, and I try to differentiate tasks. And for these learners that are really good, I try to give them stretch and challenge tasks to kind of stretch them and not keep them in the level they are, because I want my learners to grow from one level to another level. When it comes to a balanced and cohesive um, curriculum, I try as much as possible to balance up my scheme of work, not only to have theoretical concepts, but also to have practical concepts. The theoretical knowledge is very good, but when it's balanced up with practical applications, it ensures that our learners develop both the foundational knowledge and advanced skills. Now, when it comes to alignment with standards, um, your scheme of work, your lesson plans must align with the curriculums bodies. So, for instance, we have BTEC and other frameworks like Gateway. I ensure that I cover all the required contents while preparing learners for the progression into further education or workplace. So this is an example of how I have implemented differentiation of activities for learners. I've added assistive technologies for accessibility, and also I've embedded English and Maths into a website creation task. So on this particular week, we are going to do a basic HTML structures, and we're going to recognize basic HTML tags. As you can see on the third line, I have a starter task there to help students to know basic HTML code and the opportunities to embed maths and English. I did English on that particular day. I developed vocabulary of HTML code through tag identification. So I have different tags that I put up on the board, and I told them to write which tag or what identification, the HTML code, what does it represent. So that helped them to practice their writing skill and practice their vocabulary skills. So I had different activities to encourage learners to kind of do some things, have research and identify popular websites, create a simple web page by themselves. So there again, you see the embedding of practical skills. Not only will I explain the common website features for them, but they also try to research it and have practicals to kind of like know it by themselves. And you can see the resources we use. We use HTML editors, we use W3 schools, there again embedding the digital parts in it. And you can also see a differentiation tax there where the high-end learners will have visuals or create infographics for the HTML tags. And so this is one of the ways where we embed, you see, different differentiation tasks and activities for the learners in the class. I also provide one-to-one support for learners that need it. As a teacher, we go through some challenges, things like troublesome knowledge for learners, varied learner needs, um, keeping up with emerging technologies. And I've highlighted some solutions that we can use to solve those problems. Things like scaffolding tasks and using practical examples. Students engage more and understand more when you have practical examples, because when you explain something theoretically, people don't tend to understand what you're saying. But when you put it into practice, it kind of like gains deeper understanding. So we also have use of technology to enhance learning. Learners today like to use social media, like to use digital media. So if you try to incorporate that into their learning, it helps them want to engage and thereby being inclusive and diversifying your teaching too. Now, when it comes to keeping up with emerging technologies, teachers, including myself, will try to have like CPDs for emerging technologies to know what is in now, to know how to use them. In conclusion, effective curriculum planning addresses things like embedding math and English into our lessons, leveraging on emerging technologies, simplifying troublesome knowledge, inclusive, engaging, and industry aligned programs for the success of our learners. We want our learners to leave the college having skills that will progress them into the university or will progress them into apprenticeship positions. Thank you.